just 3 days after their only son vanished in the frozen mountains, a wild mountain lion showed up at their front door and tapped on the glass. No growl, no threat, almost like it was begging for help. It returned every night, the same hour, for 72 hours straight. And when they finally stepped outside to follow it, they had no idea the truth waiting for them would leave them absolutely stunned. The wind screamed across the northern ridge of the Rocky Mountains, carrying flakes of sharp, icy snow that stung like needles against the windows of the Carter home. Mary Carter stood motionless beside the cold glass, her breath fogging in faint bursts. For 72 hours, her son Evan had been missing, swallowed by the forest the way storms swallowed the sky. Every search team, every ranger, every volunteer who knew these mountains had combed the frozen ground until their boots split. Nothing. No footprints. No jacket. No voice calling back. Just silence, the kind of fear that feels like it's eating your ribs from the inside out. Tom Carter sat at the dining table, still wearing his ranger uniform, staring at the untouched cup of coffee in front of him. He hadn't slept since Evan disappeared. He barely blinked. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the same nightmare. Evan's small hand slipping through his. Mary wrapped her arms around herself and whispered, "He's alive, Tom. I feel it. Somewhere out there, he's alive." Tom didn't answer. He couldn't. The forest had taken people before, even experienced hikers. These mountains were unforgiving in winter. Mile-deep ravines, sudden drop-offs, caves that opened like traps beneath the snow. And tonight, a new blizzard was rolling in. The sheriff warned that once the storm hit, the chance of finding Evan would fall close to zero. Hearing that felt worse than any medical bill or mortgage crisis they'd ever faced. At least those things you could fight with money, loans, even an attorney if you had to. But you couldn't negotiate with the winter. A sudden thump snapped through the silence. Mary's head jerked toward the front window. Another thump, not loud, more like a careful tap from something alive. Tom slowly stood, placing a hand on the radio at his belt. "Mary," he whispered, "stay behind me." They approached the window together. The porch light flickered in the wind, casting long shadows that bent and twisted across the snow. For a moment, Mary thought it was a trick of the storm, until the shadow moved on its own. A large shape stood just beyond the glass. A mountain lion. Its fur, thick and winter pale, shimmered under the porch light. Snow clung to its face and shoulders, and its breath rose in warm clouds. But what froze Mary wasn't the size or the danger of it. It was the eyes. Calm, focused, fixed directly on them, not with the hunger of a predator, but a strange, unsettling purpose. The lion lifted one paw. Tap. Mary gasped and stumbled backward. Tom grabbed her arm, pulling her behind him, but the lion didn't growl, didn't snarl, didn't lunge. It simply lowered its paw, then raised it again. Tap, tap. A slow, deliberate rhythm. Tom whispered, "Mountain lions don't do this. They never approach houses unless they're starving or injured." As if hearing him, the lion shifted, revealing the dark stain on its front leg. Blood matted deep into the fur. It had been fighting, hard. Mary's fear twisted into something else. "Tom, look at it. It's not threatening us. It's waiting." The lion stepped away from the window, paused at the edge of the porch, then turned its head. Its yellow eyes locked with theirs. Then it took 3 silent steps toward the tree line, stopped, looked back again, waiting. A cold shiver climbed Tom's spine. "No," he muttered. No, this can't be what I think it is." But Mary was already opening the front door, pulled forward by a mother's instinct far stronger than fear. Cold wind slammed into her, but she didn't hesitate. "If there's even a chance this has something to do with Evan," she whispered, "I'm following it." Tom swallowed hard, torn between logic and the desperate love that had hollowed out his chest. He was a ranger, trained to evaluate danger, to avoid risks, to call for backup. But he was also a father. And fathers didn't wait while the dark closed in on their children. The mountain lion stood at the edge of the woods, snow swirling around it in ghostly spirals. Again, it locked eyes with them. Again, it waited. Tom grabbed his flashlight and stepped out into the storm. "If this thing runs, we go back. If it charges, we get inside. No questions." Mary nodded, though her eyes never left the lion. Slowly, carefully, they followed it into the trees. Behind them, the cabin light disappeared into the white swirl of the blizzard, swallowed just as quickly as the forest had swallowed their son. And for the first time in 72 hours, Mary felt her heart beat with something she hadn't felt since Evan vanished. Hope, fragile, impossible, but hope nonetheless. The storm thickened around the trees as Tom and Mary followed the mountain lion deeper into the forest, their flashlights slicing through the darkness in narrow, trembling beams. Snowflakes spun violently in the wind, clinging to their coats and stinging their cheeks. Every sound felt magnified. The creak of frozen branches, the soft crunch of their boots against the ice, and the steady, deliberate footsteps of the lion ahead of them. It never strayed too far, never vanished into the dark. It moved as if it wanted them close, as if it needed them close. Mary kept glancing behind them, half expecting the warm glow of their home to still be visible somewhere between the pines. But the world had swallowed it whole. There was nothing now but white, wind, and the impossible animal leading two desperate parents into the unknown. "Tom," she murmured, her voice barely a breath. "Why would it do this? Why would a wild animal come back 3 nights in a row?" Tom shook his head. "I've worked these mountains for over 15 years. Lions avoid people unless they're starving or cornered. But this one, it's acting like it wants help. And that's not normal. Not natural." Mary hesitated, then whispered, "Maybe we aren't dealing with normal." Tom didn't argue, because somewhere deep down he felt the same thing. Whatever this was, it was bigger than instinct or coincidence. It felt intentional, almost intelligent. Like the lion understood more than any ranger handbook had ever prepared him for. They continued through the timberline until the ground sloped downward and the lion suddenly paused. It turned slightly, giving them a full view of its wounded leg. Under the beam of Tom's flashlight, the wound looked worse, deeper than he thought, the fur around it stiff with dried blood. Something had torn into it. Something strong. Mary pressed a hand to her mouth in a silent gasp. "It's been fighting," she said. "Something hurt it. Something big." Tom examined the tracks in the snow. The lion's prints overlapped with other shapes, broad, heavy depressions that didn't belong to deer or elk. These prints were spread wide, the heel deep, like the step of a man carrying weight, tracks that looked a lot like boots. Tom's breath caught. These aren't animal prints. He crouched down, tracing the outline of the boot mark with trembling fingers. Someone else has been here. The lion watched him quietly, its tail flicking once as if acknowledging the discovery. Then it moved again, slower this time, limping through a cluster of fallen pines. Mary followed closely, whispering prayers she wasn't even sure she believed in. She thought of Evan's small hands, his laughter, the way he used to run down the hall every morning asking if breakfast was ready. She thought of the sheriff telling them that nothing more could be done until the storm passed. And she thought of how wrong that felt. How wrong it still felt. "He's out there," she whispered. "I know he is." As they crossed a shallow ravine, the wind shifted, carrying with it a faint sound, so soft Tom almost missed it. A whimper. High-pitched, weak, human. Mary froze. "Did you hear that?" Tom, that was him. That was Evan. It had to be. But Tom wasn't sure. The sound was thin and distant, almost swallowed by the blizzard. It could have been the wind playing tricks on their ears. But the lion reacted first. It stopped mid-step, ears snapping upright, head turning sharply toward the sound. Then, without warning, it took off. Fast, limping but determined. "Go!" Tom shouted. He grabbed Mary's hand as they stumbled after it, snow flaring around them like sparks. The lion climbed a steep rise and disappeared behind a cluster of massive boulders. When Tom and Mary finally reached the top, they saw the cat standing perfectly still, staring down at a narrow opening in the earth, a dark, jagged crack between two slabs of rock. Mary's breath shook. "What is that? A cave?" Tom leaned forward, shining his light into the opening. It was too tight for him to see much, but what he did see made his blood run cold. A scrap of fabric, bright red, caught on a stone, the exact shade of red Evan's winter jacket was. Mary dropped to her knees, tears freezing on her cheeks. "It's his. Tom, it's his jacket. Oh my God." Before Tom could respond, the lion stepped closer to the cave's mouth and let out a low, strained sound. Not quite a growl, not quite a call. Something between pain and urgency, as if urging them to go inside, as if begging them. Tom swallowed the lump in his throat. "This isn't just about her injury," he murmured. "She's trying to show us something, or someone." Mary touched the lion's injured leg gently. To her surprise, the lion didn't flinch, didn't pull away. It simply lowered its head, exhaustion visible in every line of its body. "She came back because she knew we'd follow," Mary whispered. "She needs us to help her, the same way we need her to find Evan." The storm howled overhead, shaking the trees and rattling loose snow from the cliffs. Time was running out. If Evan was in that cave, or if the lion's cub was, every minute mattered. And the presence of those boot prints meant they weren't just racing nature. They were racing someone else, someone dangerous. Tom tightened his grip on the flashlight. "We're going in," he said. Mary nodded, wiping her tears with trembling fingers. "Whatever's down there, we face it together." Behind them, the mountain lion lifted its head and released one sharp exhale, as if affirming their choice. Then it settled beside the cave entrance, guarding it, guarding them, as the snow piled up around its paws. The third night had brought them answers, and something far more terrifying. The cave entrance yawned before them like a crack in the world, narrow enough to force Tom and Mary to crouch as they stepped inside. The air changed instantly. Cold outside, but here it was somehow colder, sharp and metallic, carrying the scent of wet stone and something else. Something animal. Mary pressed a hand to the wall to steady herself, feeling the vibration of the wind outside thundering against the mountain. Behind them, the mountain lion stood guard at the entrance, her massive shape blocking much of the blizzard's fury. She didn't attempt to follow. She didn't need to. Her presence alone felt like a promise. "Go. Find them. I'll be here." Tom raised his flashlight, the beam slicing through the cramped passageway. "Stay close," he murmured. His voice echoed in the darkness, swallowed almost instantly by the stone. Mary clutched the sleeve of his jacket, her fingers cold even through the fabric. The narrow corridor widened slightly after several yards, opening into a chamber where the sound of dripping water echoed like distant footsteps. Their breaths puffed in front of them in pale clouds. Then they saw it. The first sign. A streak of red on the cave wall. A smear, small but unmistakable. Mary felt her knees weaken. Tom, that's blood. Tom leaned closer, examining it under the light. Yes, but small amounts. Could be from Evan, or from the cub. The words stung as they echoed in the still air. Somewhere deeper inside the cave, something shifted. A faint scraping, the kind of sound that makes the body stiffen before the mind understands why. Mary swallowed. He was here. He had to be here. As they moved deeper, the cave floor slanted downward, winding like an old mining shaft. Tom recognized the terrain. The Rockies were filled with natural fissures like this, places hikers avoided and rescue teams dreaded. A wrong step here could mean a 100-foot drop. Insurance companies would never cover an operation like this, he thought absently. Search and rescue in these conditions cost more than most families could dream of. He pushed the thought away. Money didn't matter tonight. Only Evan mattered. They reached another chamber, this one larger, with a high ceiling that arched like the inside of a cathedral. Their lights revealed scattered pine needles, clumps of fur, and a torn piece of rope, frayed at the ends as though something had gnawed through it. Tom knelt and lifted the rope. This is from a snare, he said quietly. Illegal trap, the kind hunters use when they don't care what animal they catch. Mary's voice cracked. So someone really was here before us. Tom nodded grimly. Human footprints were mixed in with the lions and something else. Drag marks. As if someone had hauled something heavy, or someone small. Mary clenched her fists. He didn't leave on his own. Evan would have called out. He would have tried to get back home. Before Tom could respond, a sudden gust of wind roared through the passage like a distant howl. Their flashlights flickered. Mary instinctively grabbed Tom's arm, and that was when she saw it. A small, bright object wedged between two rocks. Tom reached for it. Pulling it free, his heart stopped. Evan's knit glove. The one Mary had sewn his name into last winter when the temperatures dropped below zero. Her hand flew to her mouth. Oh, God. Oh, God, Tom. That's his. That's his glove. She pressed it to her chest, unable to breathe through the sob tightening her throat. Tom wrapped an arm around her shoulders. We're close, he murmured. We're so close. As if in answer, the cave trembled. Not violently, but enough that dust drifted down from above. Tom looked up sharply. The storm outside was hammering the mountain harder than before, and deep caves like this were notorious for collapsing under weight shifts. Mary glanced around nervously. Tom, what if this place isn't safe? It's not, he admitted. But Evan doesn't have time for us to wait for safe. They pressed onward. The passage narrowed again, forcing them into a single-file path where the walls squeezed their shoulders. Mary felt the rough rock scraping against her coat. And for a moment she imagined Evan alone and terrified somewhere in this labyrinth. Her chest tightened. Then something new reached them. A sound. Soft. Irregular. Wet breathing. Human breathing. Mary froze. Tom. He heard it too. They moved quickly, hearts pounding, until the passage widened into a circular room lit only by the shaky beam of their flashlights. The air smelled of earth and fear. Mary swept her light around the space, and her breath hitched. Another smear of blood, another scrap of red fabric, and then footprints. Fresh ones, small, Evan-sized, mixed with boot prints, leading toward the far end of the chamber, where another crack in the stone descended even deeper underground. Tom's stomach dropped. The prints were too deep for casual walking. Someone had been dragging weight. Suddenly, a sharp noise echoed from below, metal clinking against stone. Mary flinched. Tom tightened his grip on the flashlight. "That wasn't an animal," he whispered. "That was man-made." For a brief second, the cold cave felt even colder, like something dangerous was breathing just out of sight. Mary stepped closer to the drop. "Tom, do you think he's down there?" Tom hesitated, not because he doubted, but because he knew that whatever was waiting below wasn't just Evan. The cave walls had told a story already. Traps, snares, blood, the wounded lion, the dragging marks. Someone else was down here too. Someone who didn't want to be found. The mountain lion's shadow flickered across the entrance as wind gusted again, but the animal stayed outside. She wouldn't enter. She wouldn't go deeper. This part, the dark underbelly of the cave, was theirs alone. Tom took a deep breath. "Yes," he said finally. "I think Evan's down there, and I think whoever hurt that lion might still be with him." Mary's heart thudded painfully. She clutched the glove tighter. "Then we go now, before the storm seals this place shut." Tom nodded. Together they stepped toward the dark descent, toward the unknown that waited beneath the mountain. The hunter's words hung in the cold air like smoke, bitter and poisonous. Mary felt the world tilt beneath her feet as she stared at the man crouched beside the lantern. His face was half swallowed by shadow, his expression careless, almost bored. Like losing track of a child was nothing more than misplacing a piece of equipment. Tom stepped forward, muscles coiled so tightly Mary worried something inside him would snap. "What do you mean he fell?" Tom's voice trembled, not with fear, but with a fury that could make a mountain shake. The man wiped his knife on his pants. "I mean exactly what I said. The kid was running, screaming, trying to get away. He slipped into the crevice." He jerked his chin toward a wide fracture in the stone floor behind him, an opening that swallowed light and sound. "If he's alive, he's somewhere down there with the other one." Mary's heart stopped. "Other one?" The hunter's eyes glinted with amusement. "The cub, that mountain lion's brat. It followed the kid right over the edge. Guess stupidity runs in the family." Tom lunged before Mary could react. His hand fisted the hunter's coat and slammed him against the cave wall with a crack that echoed through the chamber. "You left an 8-year-old boy to die?" The man's lip curled. "I'm not a babysitter, and I'm not climbing into a hole for a kid dumb enough to chase a wild cat. I had bigger things to deal with." He gestured toward the snare trap. "You know how much these bring in on the black market? More than your ranger's salary in a year. Some folks online will pay more for animal parts than they do for luxury insurance products." He grinned, proud of the monstrosity he called a life. Mary stepped closer, her voice shaking. "Where is Evan now? What did he say? Did he call for help?" The hunter shrugged. "I don't know. I didn't stick around after he fell. The cave shifted, rocks came down, and I had to get out or end up dead like..." He didn't finish. A growl rolled through the chamber, deep, thunderous, vibrating through the stone itself. The hunter paled. He looked over Tom's shoulder, eyes widening as a massive shadow filled the other side of the room. The mountain lion mother had entered the cave. Her blood-stained legs shook slightly, but her posture was powerful, terrifying, righteous. She had followed them, not to hide, not to wait, but to face the man who had hurt her child. The hunter scrambled for his rifle. "Keep it back! Keep that thing away from me." Tom kicked the weapon aside before the man could grab it. The lion lowered her head, ears flat, muscles rippling beneath her wounded frame. She didn't roar. She didn't need to. Her presence alone was a verdict. Mary whispered, "She knows him, Tom. She recognizes his scent." The man backed away, shaking uncontrollably. "It wasn't my fault. I didn't mean to hurt the cub. I was setting traps for a bigger cat. I had buyers waiting. This wasn't supposed to happen." Tom stepped between the hunter and the lion, holding out a hand toward her. "Easy," he murmured, though every instinct in him screamed to run. "We need him alive. We need to know where Evan is." Mary saw the lion's chest heave, her breath coming out in hot, ragged bursts. She wasn't looking at Tom. She wasn't looking at Mary. Her golden eyes were locked entirely on the man who had brought her cub pain. The hunter tripped over a rock and fell hard, scrambling backward on his elbows. "Don't let it touch me. Don't let it." The cave shook violently. A section of ceiling cracked. Dust rained down in thick clouds. Somewhere below, a deeper rumble echoed up from the darkness, the sound of a hollow earth warning them that time was running out. Mary grabbed Tom's arm. "We can't stay here. The whole place is unstable." Tom nodded. "Tell us exactly where Evan is," he demanded, turning back to the hunter. "I told you," the man cried. "He fell down there, that crevice. I didn't see where it led. I heard voices, whimpers. Then the rocks fell. I ran." His voice broke into frantic panic. "I ran because I didn't want to die." Mary's eyes filled with tears, but there was steel beneath them. "My son is down there, and so is her cub." She pointed at the lion, who hadn't taken her gaze off the hunter for a second. "You left both children behind." The man sobbed into his hands. He was no longer the predator he'd pretended to be, just another frightened human in a cave that was older and angrier than him. Tom grabbed him by the collar. "You're coming with us. You're going to show us the exact spot where he fell." But before the hunter could protest, another tremor shook the ground, and the mountain lion suddenly lunged, not at him, but toward the crevice. She stood at the edge, peering down with frantic urgency. A sound drifted upward, a faint cry, small and trembling, human. Mary gasped. "Tom, it's Evan. He's alive." The hunter shook his head violently. "No way. That drop is too deep. There's no way a kid survived down there." Tom silenced him. "He survived because the cub did." Mary felt her heart pound against her ribs. "They're together. They've been together this whole time." The lion paced, glancing between the crevice and the parents, urging them to follow, no words needed. Tom tightened his grip on the rope he carried for emergencies. "Mary, we're going down." The storm roared above. The cave groaned. The hunter trembled, and the mountain lion mother waited at the abyss. Below, somewhere in the cold darkness, were two children fighting to stay alive. Tom anchored the rope to a thick rock formation, tugging twice to test its strength. Though nothing in this trembling cave felt trustworthy. Dust drifted from the ceiling each time the storm groaned above them. Mary held the flashlight with both hands, her fingers shaking so badly the beam jittered across the stone. The mountain lion mother paced beside the crevice, pawing anxiously at the edge, letting out small, desperate sounds that Mary had never imagined such a powerful creature could make. It wasn't a predator tonight. It was a parent, just like them. Tom lowered himself first. The rope scraped against the stone, echoing down the shaft. Cold air rushed up to meet him, sharp as broken glass. He could hear Mary whispering prayers above, soft and frantic. He descended slowly, boots searching for footholds in the narrow chute. "Mary," he called softly upward. "Start coming down. We can't waste another minute." Mary swallowed hard, tied the rope around her waist, and began her descent. The hunter stayed at the top, arms wrapped around himself, muttering, terrified, not of the cave, but of the massive lion whose golden eyes never left him. The rope dropped them into a tight, slanted passage. The air was warmer here, as if the earth itself was breathing around them. Mary saw small footprints in the dust, Evan's, and then the smaller, lighter paw prints right beside them. Her chest tightened. "They stayed together," she whispered. "He wasn't alone." Tom squeezed her arm. "He's a brave kid, braver than me." They followed the narrow tunnel downward. Their flashlights glowed against smooth rock until the path opened into a wide chamber. And the first thing they saw made both of them stop. Evan. Their little boy sat curled at the base of a rock wall, cradling something in his arms. When he heard their footsteps, he looked up, eyes red, cheeks streaked with dirt and dried tears. "Mom, Dad." His voice was thin, trembling. "Don't be loud. You'll scare him." Mary dropped to her knees so fast her legs buckled. "Evan." She gathered him into her arms, tears spilling over. Tom cupped the boy's head, pressing his forehead to his. "Buddy, we're here. We're here." Only then did they notice what he'd been holding. The mountain lion cub, no bigger than a house cat, its fur matted with blood, lay against Evan's chest. Its breaths were shallow, its body limp. Evan clutched it tighter. "He fell when I did," he whispered. "He tried to keep me warm when it got really cold. I didn't want him to die. He was just scared." Mary felt her throat tighten painfully. The cub blinked weakly at them, then nestled closer to Evan as if he were the only safe thing left in the world. Tom ran gentle fingers along the animal's side. "He's hurt bad, but still fighting. Just like you." Evan nodded. "Mom, Dad, please don't let the hunter hurt him. He tried to take him away. He said no. One would care about a mountain lion." Evan's small voice dropped to a whisper. "But I cared." Mary hugged him tighter. "No one is taking him from you." A sound behind them made Tom spin, rock clattering. The hunter had followed them after all, clutching his bag and stumbling into the chamber. "We need to get out now," he hissed. "The cave's unstable. Leave the cub. Leave the kid if you have to." He didn't finish. The ceiling groaned and split. A section of stone crashed down between them, sending debris flying. Mary shielded Evan with her body. Tom grabbed the hunter by the collar and shoved him back toward the tunnel wall. "You don't speak another word," Tom growled. "You're going to help us get them out, or that lion up there will finish what you started." The man shook so hard his teeth chattered. "This wasn't my plan. I just wanted the big cat." "Shut up," Tom snapped. He lifted Evan into his arms. The cub whimpered as Evan held it close, but it didn't resist. It trusted the boy. Maybe the way the lion trusted them. Mary pressed close as Tom started toward the tunnel. Another tremor rattled the chamber, stones cracking loose. "Tom," Mary whispered. "We have seconds, not minutes." They reached the rope just as the cave shook again, harder this time. Dust filled the air. The hunter scrambled up first, desperate to escape. Then Mary climbed, pushing through fear. Tom tied the rope around Evan and the cub, holding them against his chest as he ascended one-handed. The rope burned his palms, but he didn't stop, didn't slow, didn't breathe until they reached the top. The lion mother rushed forward instantly when she saw the cub, letting out a broken, aching sound that echoed through the cave. Evan lifted the cub toward her with trembling arms. "He was brave," Evan whispered to her. "He protected me." The lion pressed her head against the cub, and then, shockingly, pressed her forehead gently against Evan's shoulder, as if acknowledging him, as if thanking him. Tom and Mary stood frozen, watching their son touch an animal that should have been a threat, but instead looked at him like he was part of her world now. Above them, the blizzard roared. Behind them, the cave rumbled, and ahead of them lay the climb back to the surface and the danger waiting in the storm. The wind struck them the moment they climbed out of the cave, a violent, freezing blast that shoved snow into their faces and stole their breath. The storm had grown worse. Trees bent under the weight of ice. The world felt thinner, harsher, like even the mountain itself was warning them that time was running out. Tom held Evan tight against his chest, while Mary supported the mountain lion cub, wrapped gently in her coat. Beside them, the lion mother circled protectively, keeping her injured leg carefully angled away from the snow, but never slowing down. She checked the cub with soft sounds, as if reassuring herself he was truly alive. The hunter stumbled behind them, terrified of the lion's proximity, but too afraid of being left alone in the storm to run. Tom didn't look back at him. All that mattered now was getting Evan home, getting him warmth, food, medical coverage if his ankle was hurt, and making sure the cub survived long enough for wildlife rescue to help. Evan clung to Tom's jacket, his voice small. "Dad, are we almost safe?" Tom kissed the top of his son's head. "We're almost there, buddy. Just a little farther." They trudged through the whiteout, following faint markings Tom had carved on trees earlier. But the storm blurred everything. Shadows and snow mixed until it was impossible to tell where the sky ended and the land began. Then Mary's foot slipped on a hidden patch of ice, sending her sliding toward a ridge. Tom lunged, grabbing her arm just in time. The cub whimpered in her arms. The lion mother snarled, not at them, but at the storm itself, as if daring the mountain to take one more thing from her. Tom pressed forward, muscles burning. Evan's weight felt heavier with each step. But then, through the swirling snow, a dim yellow glow appeared, their porch light, a beacon cutting through the chaos. Mary let out a sob of relief. "We made it, Tom. We made it." But danger wasn't finished with them yet. Just as they reached the clearing, the hunter bolted toward the trees, trying to escape before authorities arrived. The lion mother sprang forward, blocking his path with a roar that shook snow from the branches. The man froze, stumbling backward and falling onto his hands. Tom stepped between them. "Not another move," Tom warned. "You're going to answer for everything you've done. You'll need an attorney after this, and you're lucky that lion didn't end your life underground." The hunter didn't argue. He simply lay there, shivering in terror. Mary hurried Evan inside while Tom radioed for backup. Rangers arrived minutes later, towing a snowmobile with medical supplies. They arrested the hunter, who begged them to keep the lion away. None of them had the heart to tell him she had saved the very people he'd put in danger. A wildlife officer examined the cub, wrapping its wounds and preparing to transport it to a rescue center. Evan refused to let go until the last possible second. "He saved me," Evan whispered. "Please help him." The officer nodded. "We will. He's a tough little guy." Meanwhile, the lion mother limped to Evan's side. The officers raised their tranquilizer rifles, but Tom raised his hand sharply. "Stand down," he ordered. "She's not here to hurt anyone." The lion bowed her head toward Evan. Snow gathered on her ears, but she didn't shake it off. Evan stepped forward, placing his tiny hand against her fur. She didn't move, didn't blink, didn't breathe for a second. It was a moment made of pure trust between a child and a creature built by the wild. Then she turned. She nudged the officer's arm lightly, as if asking him to take care of her cub. With a final glance at Evan, she limped toward the tree line. The storm had softened now, settling into a quiet snowfall. Her silhouette disappeared between the pines, swallowed by the same forest that had almost taken everything from the Carter family. But now, it felt like the forest had given something back too. 3 weeks passed. Evan recovered quickly, though doctors insisted on extra checkups and stronger home insurance for winter accidents. The cub healed at the Wildlife Center, growing stronger every day. The story spread across Colorado, people amazed at how a mountain lion had acted with such intelligence, such purpose, guiding humans to save not only a lost child, but her own young. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the ridge and shadows stretched across the backyard, Evan stood by the fence, staring into the woods. "Dad," he whispered, "do you think she'll ever come back?" Tom knelt beside him. "Maybe. Wild animals don't forget, especially not something like this." Later that night, as Mary washed dishes and Tom set logs in the fireplace, Evan ran to the window. "Mom, Dad, look!" They rushed to him, hearts tightening. At the edge of the yard, illuminated by moonlight, stood a young mountain lion. Still small, still healing, but strong enough to stand tall. The same cub Evan had protected. It didn't approach, just watched. Its eyes gentle, curious, grateful. Then, from deeper in the forest, another shape emerged, larger, familiar, moving with the quiet confidence of a shadow that belonged to the land itself. The lion mother. She gave a low, soft sound that drifted across the yard like a greeting. Evan pressed his hand to the glass. "Hi," he whispered. "I miss you too." The mother lion nudged her cub forward. The young cat gazed at Evan for a long, still moment, then turned and followed its mother back into the trees. Snow fell silently in their wake. And though the forest swallowed them once more, the Carters knew this wasn't a goodbye. Some bonds don't fade. Some don't need words. Some are written in the snow, in courage, in shared survival. The mountain lion saved their son. Their son saved her cub. And somewhere between fear and hope, between nature and humanity, a bridge had formed, fragile, impossible, and unforgettable.